and thank you for listening in to CLDF Chatter. To give you a quick overview, CLDF is a national charity which supports families whose child has a childhood liver disease, and as part of the charity we have a young people's service which provides support to 11 to 24-year-olds living with a liver condition. The Young People's Service has an online group called Hive and Hive Plus on Facebook, which enables members to connect online and share experiences. I am the Young People's Digital Engagement Officer at CLDF, Louise. Today we have Katie, who is the Young People's Service intern at CLDF.
And we would like to give a warm welcome to Emma.
Emma, we would like to welcome you today to the CLDF podcast channel. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Emma Redgate. I'm 21 years old and I have had 2 liver transplants because I had biliary atresia.
Thank you. When did you have your transplants, Emma?
So I had my first one at the age of 10 months old in 2001, and then I had my second one when I was 3 years old in 2004.
So little, yeah. You probably don't remember that, do you, as such? But
no, I don't remember, but I remember bits of my second transplant and like after that, but not anything from the
first one. Yes. Okay, well maybe we can have a little chat about that in a bit then. So thank you for coming on today. Katie, do you want to ask Emma some questions?
Name 5 words that describe your liver journey.
So I would say it's empowered me to do things. It's not really one word, but stronger. I'm stronger because of everything I've been through. Happy, because I'm happy when I look back at what I've achieved and what I've gone through and how I am as a person today and how it's made me a part of who I am today. Positive, because although there was negative things, I now see positivity in everything really. And this is definitely not one word, but up and down. Going through liver transplants and condition is not easy, but there are ups and good things that you go through and experience as a result.
So through your journey then, obviously your key words are quite positive in a sense that it's probably made you stronger. But it'd be lovely to hear about your journey, Emma, because obviously those words are obviously reflected in your story. So if you would be happy to share with us what it was like as a child living with biliary atresia.
I think like you said, Liz, my words were very positive. I think my words are more positive than someone who remembers going through it, because obviously I only heard really what it was like after having had it and being older. So I've seen the benefits and things I've felt afterwards. But I think as I was going through it, obviously, if I'd remembered, there would be some mixed words in there. I would say growing up, I was constantly in hospital. I lived most of my childhood in and out of hospital because I have a weak immune system. I'd go in for something that was really small and then end up being in hospital for ages. And then missed quite a bit of school because of that. So I did struggle in school, especially in primary school. I struggled not necessarily socialising, although I think to begin with I did, because I was really shy because of being in hospital and being around adults. But I struggled because I missed a lot of school. So for example, you do your number bonds in like year 1 reception, and I didn't do those till I was leaving primary school in year 6. So I did miss a lot. I did struggle in primary school, but my primary school was amazing, so I did get that support, and that massively helped later on. And then it didn't affect my secondary school education too much.
When you were that little, did you understand why you were coming in and out of school? Or
I think I did. I don't think I did at the beginning when you're like 5. I think I grew up a lot quicker than your typical child, and so I think at 6 or 7 I understood why I was coming in and out. Obviously other children didn't who were in my class, but I think I did. By 8 I could explain my conditions on my tablets and what I was on.
And did you see the importance in it as well at that point?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
What was it like knowing that you had a transplant as a baby and growing up having that scar?
I personally, I know it's, and I understand completely why, for some people it is something that they're self-conscious of, but I always have loved my scar. But I think that comes from having it since I was literally 9, 10 months old. So I've grown up with it. My body would be almost odd without it. I remember saying, and I remember parents always used to tell me this, I think I was like 6, said to my mum and dad, I was like, my scar won't go away, will it? Because I was terrified that it would go, because I didn't want it to go. I now know, because it's been the surgeons have been in it so many times that it never will. But I'm obviously happy about that. I was a bit self-conscious sometimes getting changed, but now I don't mind at all. And if anyone sees that I'm changing or like wearing a different top, then starts a conversation, then obviously raises awareness of liver disease and things like that. So no, I'm very lucky in the sense that I've never struggled with it.
Do you see your scar as like your story, like a vision of your story? Yeah.
I do. It's a bit cheesy in a way, but everyone always jokes because I was one of the first liver transplant patients where they used to do it. So it's like an unhappy face, but I'm always smiling. So it's like everyone always jokes because I'm so smiling that my scar is an opposite of how I am, because it's like a sad face.
That's it, isn't it? It's about owning your body and your scar, and it's really nice to hear that that's something you are proud of, and you don't want it to go away. It's part of you. Thank you for sharing that. Throughout your liver journey, Emma, have you had any like fears or challenges that you've had to face?
Yeah, definitely. I was massively, and still am, I suppose you would say, needle phobic, but I'm nowhere near as bad as I used to be. I was absolutely terrified. Like even flu jabs and things like that, I was just absolutely petrified. Like now I can go to have a flu jab on my own, but I couldn't till I was like 14, 15 years old. I couldn't do that. And I do now have people, so my dad just tend to go with me still to have my blood test, because I still don't like the thought of going on my own, because I think it does still linger. But I was really bad needle phobic. I was terrified. And it's hard to take my blood anyway. I've got such small veins because they've been in there obviously since I was born, so they're a lot smaller than your average person at my age, so that makes it harder. But I was absolutely terrified. Couldn't think of anything worse. Yeah.
What was put in place for you to manage like having needles?
No, not everyone is able to have this. So there was a nurse that always was able to get it more or less first time, and I felt comfortable with her. I've had lots of bad experiences with needles and blood tests, so I think that's where it all stemmed from, just through being in and out of hospital. So I had one lady who was fantastic. She was called Kim, and she was just amazing. She was very reassuring, and used the Where's Wally book to distract me, and always had like cold spray and things like that. When obviously I transitioned, it's different, so I don't have the same person now, but it is fine, and it's that reassurance of actually it is fine, and it's a few seconds, and it's why it's important as well. That always helps. Obviously it's for your blood to check everything is okay, and so that little reminder always helped as well. It's not just a wasted thing, it's been done for a reason.
Yeah, is it just through experience that that's kind of got a little bit easier as you've got older?
Yeah, I'd say it is with experience. I was a pretty good child, but I was an absolute nightmare when anyone ever said blood tests or cannulas. I know my parents were like, oh, no. I wasn't a good child then at all. A different Emma came out. I was like a rabbit in headlights. My dad used to said to me one day when we were talking about it, I would just get this glaze over my eyes of absolute sheer terror. I think it was the support. I was lucky. My dad was very supportive. He always held my hand and was reassuring. And distractions, they're just amazing things. Even if it's not I just love Where's Wally, so that was my distraction. But if music, they played music as well and things like that, and it's using those techniques and keep using them, and they eventually do help.
It is difficult, isn't it, when you've got a fear and you know that it's got to be done. It takes a lot of drive doesn't it, to sit there and take that. But how did you feel once it was done and dusted?
I mean, I was like, once it was over, I was like, yes. I'll be absolutely fine once the needle was out. And I don't mind. I love medical programs, and even to this day, I can watch hearts being open, anything. I can watch any surgery. I've been seen live surgery. I'm absolutely fine. But you see someone stick a needle into anything or any human body, I'm like, I'm like, no, can't look at that. I don't know. It just makes me think, oh dear.
It's completely different, isn't it, on people's like fears and perspective? Because Katie, you've had quite a few, haven't you, needles as well?
The cannulas was one of my fears as well. Like I could have a blood test done, but as soon as you went to put a cannula in, I think it's because it stayed in your hand and it didn't come out. And that's, I remember, even if I had to go for surgery or had to be put under anaesthetic at all, my mum would have literally had to sit there and hold my hand. She'd have to come into the theatre, and it would be done like literally last minute before I went under.
I relate to that. Yeah, I had to be restrained, and that, like, the thought of that, I'm now like, when I see the doctor, I'm like, oh god, I'm sorry, I was that bad. Even now I'm a bit like, oh, I had one when I had COVID and don't want to move my hand. I'm like, what if the needle snaps in a minute? It's not. It's that weird feeling.
Yeah,
But,
my hand wouldn't move the whole time the cannula was in it. It just sat in the one place, and obviously it would give you pins and needles after a while, and everyone's like, you have to move it, yeah. And I was like, no, stay in there.
Like you say, when you look back, you're like, oh, why did I think that? But yeah, and that's completely understandable, yeah.
And I think it's the doctors, and they've seen it probably time and time again, because it's not an unheard of thing, is it, having a fear of needles. I mean, it's nice to hear that as you're getting a little bit older, it's getting easier for you, because it's not nice having that anxiety before something's going to happen, is it? So, but at the same time, obviously, yeah, it takes a lot of time, doesn't it, to slowly get used to it. They ever offered anything for you, Emma, like to give any support with that?
Psychologist. I went to see them for a bit, and they did like tapping and things like that, and that did help for a bit. Yeah, we used to do like tapping. I was nervous. I'd like, you do the tapping on your middle finger and your thumb, and you like tap them together,
almost like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it was like, it was like cognitive tapping, and it was meant to relax you. It did actually really help, actually, and the worst part of it. I think that she was really good because she was a child's psychologist, so she obviously was used to being in the hospital, and like hearing podcasts like this, it would have really helped. When I was going through the worst of it, it wasn't really around because it was like 2006.
Well, it's really good that you did have that support from a psychologist, and hopefully that did help things. Are there any other challenges, Emma, that you think you overcame on your journey?
That was my biggest one, because I've obviously had it since I was young. I don't have any issues of remembering to take tablets. I take a lot of tablets, but it's like I have to take one when I wake up, and then a load when it's my breakfast, and then a load with tea, and then one when I go to bed. But there's no like set time. Like obviously there's a time that they sort of say it's good to have it, but it doesn't have to be at 10 o'clock dead on the dot and things like that. So I'm very good with that, but I wouldn't say I'd have any issues with that. It's more like as I'm getting older now, obviously like travel insurance, and obviously my parents sorted that out, and I went on my first proper holiday where it was just me sorting all that stuff out this summer. So I was sorted out my own insurance, things like that, because obviously it is more complicated and things like that. So that it's just, I'm sure things like that will pop up as I get older.
Yeah, travel insurance just takes a little bit more research, doesn't it, I guess?
Yeah,
so.
Well, CLDF, you kindly helped me with that. You did.
A bit more research, a bit more looking around, and then we do have that list of travel insurance companies that people can check out. But
I use that.
I'm glad you did.
So how was your transition process on joining adult services, Emma?
The support I got was fantastic, because for me, because I've been with that team since I was little, it meant so much to me. It was like a second family. I knew all the doctors and I knew everybody. So moving to adult services was a really scary thing. I was nervous about that. I think that's another thing that I struggled with. But the support I had from the hospital, from CLDF, was absolutely fantastic. I remember getting a booklet, which was really, really, really helpful. It is scary and it's weird, even just the experience of going, you're obviously used to all the like pictures of ER and things like that, and then you go to this adult ward where it's white walls, and it is daunting. But the support I got was fantastic, and it made it feel like a less scary thing. And the thing that really helped me is that when I first transitioned, some of the doctors from the children's ward would come to the appointments. It was almost like a semi-transition, and that really helped, because it did feel still like they were there, but the new adult consultant, who's now my consultant, did the most of the talking. But it just them, my old hospital nurses or doctors being there, was sort of that bit of familiarity till obviously they phased it out, and it was just my consultant I have now.
But yeah, they settled you in gradually.
Yeah.
So we're just going to ask you, what experience makes you feel proud of yourself regarding you and your liver journey?
I think just the way I've handled it, and all the things that I've been through. I could be a very, very negative person, but I have a very positive outlook on life. And obviously, yes, we have moments where we're not feeling too good, but I'm a very genuinely positive person, and I've got a lot of confidence on my liver journey. There was a point where I wasn't confident, and I didn't I didn't tell people about my transplant, not because I was ashamed of it, but just because I was like, oh, it's something for myself and the people I'm close with to know about only, and it's my little thing. But now I'm like, no, I'm happy to talk about it to anyone, and I see the importance of talking about it and raising awareness of liver disease and liver transplantation. And then CLDF, I always bring them into it because they're amazing. I'd say it's definitely made me a stronger person and made me have so much more confidence in myself, and confidence to say yes to opportunities I never thought I'd have, or even just little things that push you out of your comfort zone. I think I would be a completely different person without it. I wouldn't have the confidence and strength that I do to go through little things that are hard at times.
I was going to say, you've had quite a few opportunities, haven't you? So
Yeah.
do you want to tell us about what opportunities you've had?
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful. It doesn't even begin to explain how grateful I am for the opportunities I've had. I did the Rickshaw Challenge in 2019 for children in need, and that was hands down one of the best things I've ever done and ever will do in my entire life. I've met some amazing people and I've made some amazing friends from it, and it was just an absolutely incredible experience. From doing that, I've been able to do some amazing things. And it was just seeing the support of the general people that you didn't even know was just amazing. I've obviously done Talk to Transform, which I love doing, creating a video about my transplant story and journey. And I think that was very empowering, because I think that's the first proper time I looked back at, realised what I'd done and what I'd been through. That was amazing to meet lots of different people who've been through completely different experiences, but all have that one connection of liver disease. And that was amazing. I've made amazing friends from that. And I also went to Switzerland and skied in Takas, which is something I never thought I'd ever do. So I'm very grateful for everything I've been able to do, because I know your typical person does not get to do that. So very
I know,
grateful.
yeah, lots of different new opportunities thrown at you, and especially when you're on the BBC, like that's a really rare opportunity.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, cycling that far as well.
It was amazing. It was difficult, like in the wind and the rain and up the hill, but it was just, it was fantastic. It was the support and the energy and just the atmosphere just kept you going. And yeah, like you say, being on the BBC, it's funny enough, yesterday a friend did send me a picture to say, I can't believe this was 3 years ago, and it was me on my local news. And I was like, wow, yeah, I would never thought, like when I made a friend, she'd recognise me. She said, oh, and I said something, she saw a picture in my room and said, you did the Rickshaw Challenge. I thought I recognised you from somewhere, but just thought I'd probably seen you around university. And she was like, no, I supported you and followed you on the Rickshaw Challenge. And I was like, oh, wow. So yeah, it's I know, I was like, someone else about the other day, and I was like, I recognise you. You did the Rickshaw Challenge, didn't you? I was like, that was 3 years ago. I was like, yeah, I did.
Oh, so, people are identifying you then.
Oh no. No, I think not many people at the university who've had transplants here. Definitely not. So I think that's the reason.
And like you say, I mean, you've done the residentials, the CLDF, and Katie, you've also been on residentials, haven't you, as a young person? Do you think they really help with your confidence? Is that something that you've kind of had?
I think, it has given me confidence, definitely, because I did the Talk, Tell, Transform residential as well, and before that I didn't think I really had a story. And then whenever you go to do the project, then you realise you actually do have a story, and it's quite unique. And it empowered me to kind of tell the story to others. And so it definitely gave me a lot more confidence in knowing that there's other people out there who are going through a similar experience to you is very helpful as well, that you can rely on them when times are tough.
I agree. I think people used to tell me that, oh, you've been through so much, and because you're so used to it and it's just what you've accepted as normal, you don't think you've been through anything or have a story, but actually what we've been through is completely different, and it's incredible. So I agree, it's definitely given me confidence in that.
So what advice would you give to others about viewing their condition, Emma?
I'd say, like I said obviously before, I didn't tell people in the past. Only tell people as much as you want to tell them. If someone asks something and like they notice, like for example, I wear a medical bracelet and you can tell it's not a bracelet, so just a normal bracelet. Like I used to wear that in secondary school, and you weren't allowed jewelry. So someone would always say, oh, you've got a bracelet on, you're not allowed bracelets. And so would ask why. if you don't feel comfortable telling them, don't tell them. It's your story. Obviously tell if there's something that people, like your teachers, need to know, or adults around you need to know because it's at risk to your health, sort of thing, then obviously tell them that, but don't feel obliged to tell anybody everything if you don't feel comfortable or ready to. I think there's that pressure of, because you've been through something, to tell everybody everything. Even if you just say, oh, I've had a transplant or I've got a liver condition, then you don't need to go into any detail. It's your story, not theirs.
Your health and whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I think obviously university culture is drinking. I don't drink because I have transplants. Some people, that when I came to university, everyone's like, why don't you drink? And even when I said I'd had 2 liver transplants, they were like, yeah, but still, why don't you drink? And it is hard to be like, no, I don't want to drink because I've had this and I've got this condition. But don't give in to the pressure of them saying, have a drink. At the end of the day, it's your health. Do not feel that you need to do that. That's definitely one thing I'd say as well.
That's it. It's under your own control, isn't it? So it's about how you feel, and it is a big peer pressure, isn't it, out there at university and university life.
Yeah.
But it's also about educating people, because some people just don't realise either. Like you say, you can share whatever you feel comfortable to share, but if people ask, sometimes it's beneficial to say.
Even like in my 3rd year, so they're mainly 20. Obviously, to me, I think, oh, of course, when I say I've had 2 liver transplants, you think, oh, you can't drink. But they're like, oh, that means you can't drink. And because it's common knowledge to me, but actually it's not common knowledge to everyone else. So it might seem obvious to me, but actually to people who don't see that every day, it's not. So like you say, educating people that actually...
So some people don't actually know a lot about the liver, do they? You know, it's like one of those where you've had that education about it or not at that point. So, but no, thank you for sharing it. So how is university going? How is studying?
Good, busy, a lot of work, but it's good. I'm studying from a primary school teacher, so it's very, very full on, lots of work, dissertation, placement, all go, but no, it's good. I'm enjoying it. So
And you're independently living at uni, aren't you? So that's another learning curve of being an adult.
It is. As we were talking about before. Yes, it definitely is. It's a good almost like trial for when you live on your own after university, if you decide to not live at home after university. So it's a good little learning experience to have to budget with your own money that you've got to pay for where you're staying and things like that, and your accommodation and your food before you've got your gas and all that sort of thing when you actually have a job. But
the cleaning and the washing.
I already do that. I have to do that. I still do that, but it is good. It's that independence. It's a different thing. I suppose I'm 3rd year, so it's different. But in 1st year, it was like dear. But it's all a learning curve. You're bound to make mistakes, and that's fine. That's how you learn.
But you are learning, and it's a good thing. Every day you learn and you get better at it, don't you? So that's it.
So throughout your journey, what have you learned about yourself?
I have learned that I'm more resilient and confident than I thought I was. I'm able to get through things, although it might seem difficult. There is always a rainbow at the other side. If you keep going, you eventually get to the place where you feel more happy about whatever you're doing, whatever the situation is. I definitely am more resilient. Just was more resilient, more confident, more self-assured, and know myself more and know my strengths and weaknesses. I definitely say that.
That's lovely. Thank you, Emma, for today. I mean, I know you started off obviously describing your 5 keywords, and I think throughout your journey there we can see, that you feel quite strong, you're empowered from your journey. I mean, you've had quite a lot of, ups and downs, like you've mentioned, but at the same time, you persevered through it. You found support networks, and is it where there's a will, there's a way? That's the saying.
That's very true. I agree. I
mean, when you look back at your story, your journey, like you say, you spoke about needle phobia, like you still had that needle, you still did it, it took that time, but you still go, don't you? You still have them. You've done the transition process, even though that was daunting to start with, and now you look back at it and you think, oh, actually I'm doing okay.
You do. A nice moment of reflection and being like, wow, okay,
all those opportunities that got thrown at you, you completed
Yeah,
them. Like
yeah.
traveling, I mean, like we've already talked about it, haven't we? The rickshaw challenge, cycling that rickshaw.
That
you
was
know.
just, honestly, I wish there was some way I could put it into words how amazing and grateful I am for that. It was just honestly one of the best things, and is one of the best things I've ever done.
Even at uni, you know, there are challenges, but you're in third year, so you're nearly there.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, you mentioned, haven't you, like it does take support as well.
Afraid to like reach out, because although obviously I said all about the confidence and all that, I've said all this like strength and all this and resilience, but don't get me wrong, it's been really tough at times, like being in hospital and being away from friends and things like that. Yeah, it has been difficult, and I think those, because of had those positive things, they almost outweigh the not so nice memories. But it's okay to ask for support. I think that's the biggest thing. People don't ask support because they think, oh, I can't ask. There's a saying about don't suffer in silence. It is the worst thing. If you wouldn't tell your friend not to ask for help, so if you're struggling with something to do with your transplant or your liver disease, honestly ask for help, because you get the help and you feel a lot better.
There's so many more ways nowadays as well to connect, isn't there? So even like if you were on a ward, you know that you've got access to WhatsApp now, haven't you? That you can
and so that wasn't
people, and you can call people from your bed, because everybody's pretty much got their own phone nowadays, haven't they? And
that is, I think that's a fantastic thing.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's still a hard journey, and it can still be quite difficult, can't it, on the wards and in hospitals, like you say. But at the same time, like you say, if you need support and you need a phone call, then there are people there for you.
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah.
But no, thank you for sharing, opening up about your journey, and it's been lovely having you on the podcast.
It's been lovely being on. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been lovely listening to your story and your journey.
Yeah.
And we wish you all the luck with your third year and your dissertation and all the stuff that comes with primary teaching.
Oh yeah. No, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it.
For those that are listening in, it's lovely that you've joined us on CLDF Chatter. I am the Young People's Officer, so if you do need any support from listening to this podcast, or there's any concerns that you may have or advice that you might need, please do contact us on Hive, our online Facebook group chat, or you could email ypo@childliverdisease.org, or alternatively you can call us on 0121 212 3839, and we look forward to hearing from you.